For a transcript of this episode, training plans, and more, visit marathonsfortherestofus.com. Hey there, I'm Coach Carl with another Marathons for the Rest of Us video. Last week, I talked to you about why speed training is important for marathons, even if you don't have a time goal. And this week, we're going to get a little bit more into the how by talking about the value of what's called effort-based speed work. Now, when we think about speed work, a lot of times we're thinking about something very structured, such and such miles at such and such pace. And a lot of times the paces for these workouts are based on your recent race results. Every once in a while they're based on estimated fitness or hopes or dreams of where you might be. But for the most part, you take a recent race result, you put it in some sort of predictor or some sort of online calculator, and you get the paces that you should be running for your speed workouts. Now, this approach makes several assumptions, all of which may not be true. The first assumption is that your estimate of fitness is accurate, and also that if you're using a race, that your fitness hasn't improved since the race. If you're basing your workout times on a 10K that you ran 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks ago, then the odds are that your fitness is at a different level now than it was on race day, and you may not be accounting for that when you're setting your workout paces. Now, the second assumption is if you're using a race as your baseline, that you were at your best that day, that you gave it the best effort you could, and your performance that day is really indicative of where your fitness was and not a result of not getting enough sleep or having too many margaritas the night before or something like that. That is an honest and accurate assessment of where your fitness was at. And then the third assumption is that every day that you go out to do your speed workouts, that you're also going to be able to give a full, complete effort just the same as you did on race day. You can't do an apples to oranges comparison here. If you're saying that my workout paces are based on this race and I was at 100% that day, well, you better be 100% in your workout too if you're not accounting for that when you set up your paces. And that's really the biggest problem, I think, with this approach, is that you probably did everything right leading up to the race. You were probably well hydrated, you probably slept well, you probably ate well in the days leading up to it, you were probably pretty focused on it. And that all more than likely resulted in a very good performance. But those factors may not be working in your favor on a random Tuesday when you're trying to do a speed workout, and maybe you haven't slept that well, or maybe you're stressed at work, or maybe you didn't even know what the workout was supposed to be until you looked at your schedule or showed up at the track that night. So you can see where I'm going here. There's a whole lot of factors that may be in play when you're doing the speed workouts that weren't in play during the race that you're using to set all these paces for the speed workouts. So it gets a little bit trickier than it might seem to just put a race time into a calculator, have it spit out paces, and then go run those paces in a workout. There's a lot more at play. There's a lot more that needs to be taken into account than just what your most recent race time was. And if you don't take those things into account, the big concern and the big fear here is that you're going to end up working too hard in your speed workouts. And I know in sort of a no pain, no gain society, the idea of working too hard in your speed workouts may not seem like a problem, but from a physiological perspective, best case scenario, you're not working the energy systems that you set out to, and worst case scenario, you're wearing yourself down, you're not going to be allowing the appropriate recovery time after the speed workouts, and eventually that's going to lead to either sort of getting stale with the training or injuries. It's definitely not going to lead to running your best. Now, effort-based speed work doesn't work the same way. It doesn't have specific paces assigned to the workout ahead of time. Instead, the paces for the workout are based on how you feel that day. Now, to give you an example of how this would work in real life, this is one of my favorite workouts to assign to people early in a training cycle, or maybe somebody that isn't particularly used to speed work or is coming back off an injury, and it's a cut down run. And so it may be a 5-mile cut down run, let's say. And the first mile, I tell them, I just want you to run easy. I don't want you to worry about what the pace is. I want you to run at a pace that feels easy to you on that day, taking into account all the different factors of stress, sleep, diet, all those sorts of things. Run at a pace that feels easy for the first mile of the run. Then for the last 4 miles of the run, I want them to pick up the pace 10 to 15 seconds per mile each of those last 4 miles. So that fifth mile is going to be somewhere around 40 seconds to a minute faster than that first mile was. So there is some structure to the workout still. It's not just run how you feel. But because we're using that first mile as our baseline to set the paces off of, it really allows us to take into account how you're feeling that day rather than coming in with a preconceived idea of what your pace should be on that first mile, and then we're going to cut down from there. So by starting from a point that's effort-based and is based on how you feel that day, we can make sure that we're getting an appropriate, effective workout in without risking working too hard. Now, one thing I really like about effort-based speed work is you learn to trust and to interpret the signals that your body is giving you in terms of how hard you're working and how long you can keep that up. And I would say it only gets more important when conditions are bad or weather's bad. You look at Boston this year, I think the people that ran the best were the people that just sort of shut their brains off, listened to their body, and ran how they felt, rather than worrying about specific paces. And so when you have practice doing that in your training, it's much easier to carry it over to race day. Now, there are some times where I think it does make a lot of sense to have specific paces in mind. One is what I would call a traditional tempo run. So this may be something, anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes at a set pace. Now, the purpose of the specific paces here is to keep you from working too hard. In a tempo run, you want to make sure that you don't go too hard. And so saying, this is going to be the upper limit of how fast I'm going to run today, no matter how good I feel, can be a nice way to make sure that you don't overdo it and you actually do hit the energy systems that you want to in that workout. Now, another example where I think specific pace is really important is when you're practicing goal pace. You do want to have an idea of what that goal pace feels like. So, forcing yourself to run that specific goal pace, even if it's a day you don't feel great, can be really valuable in your marathon training because you learn what that pace should feel like on race day. So I hope that information is helpful. I hope it's inspired you to give some effort-based speed workouts a shot and see what you think of them. I'd love to hear what you thought of this video. So leave your comments below, and if you have suggestions for future videos, definitely let me know that too. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.